speaking of that, throwing in the kitchen sink, I guess I'm going to use that, throwing in the kitchen sink, because Elon dragged the sink into Twitter when he took it over. But yeah, we'll talk a little bit about the biggest thing of the week, the WeRobot event, and Elon just basically talking about everything AI related, it seemed like. So we'll spend a lot of time talking about that, and you can have a lot of opinions. And then, of course, also top of mind is Google. Is it in danger of being broken up by the DOJ? Could be a big thing, maybe not. We'll see. But anyways, so I think that's what we have for this week, at least.
Episode 33.
Episode 33.
The big thing this week was Elon's WeRobot event, where going into it, there was a lot of hype. And rewinding a bit, as you all remember, originally Elon said that this event was going to be in August, but then they had to delay it by 2 months to October. But for a very long time now, Elon has been narrating this vision of fully autonomous cars, which is what they've been trying to work on at Tesla. This was the event that was supposed to give an update of. He talked about a few things. One, he unveiled a new Tesla model, which is supposed to also be the CyberCab. And my reaction to the model is actually, it looked really good. I mean, it looked sleek. It kind of looked DeLorean-like, but the whole theme of the event was kind of Cybertruck-ish. So it's like the design pattern going forward is very futuristic and steel Cybertruck-ish. So he announced the new model, CyberCab, and the thing about CyberCab is that it's be fully autonomous, unsupervised, it's full self-driving, no steering wheel, no pedals, 2-seater, and it has the Falcon type doors that swing upward and downward. So that was the first thing. Then he talked about RoboVans.
So I don't know if he's being cheeky.
RoboVan.
RoboVan, yeah. RoboVan.
Yeah. RoboVan, which is a bus-like vehicle that, again, is fully autonomous, and it has the capacity to hold 20 people, and it rolled out into the street in front of the stage, and 20 people came out of it. So that was pretty cool. And then the last thing they talked about was Optimus and how the Optimus robots were advancing and how he sees a future in a life where robots are there with you doing everything you don't want to do, is what he said. But they could do things like play games with you, give you drinks, do whatever work you need them to do. So much more of a residential / home type narrative. He let people ride in the CyberCabs from certain destinations, from the main stage to different destinations on the Warner Brothers lot. He had robots hanging out, which we'll talk about, because there's a lot I saw in those robot videos that made me, roll my eyes. And he had people ride these CyberCabs across the lot, and there's a lot of videos online today showing them. So lastly, before I turn over to you for your opinions and reactions, just wanted to highlight a couple of things. One is the CyberCab is estimated to cost under $30,000. And his statement was, this is for everyone to buy and everyone to, use to make money, right? Because when you're sleeping, your CyberCab, it can go out and pick somebody up and drop them off wherever they need to be dropped off. That I saw, he said it, but it was he didn't spend too much time about it. He talked about induction charging. And so induction charging is when it's like wireless charging. So you can actually just drive over something and it'll charge the battery, which was very interesting to me. Estimated production to start is 2026, which is far out. And he estimates that fully autonomous CyberCabs will be on the streets before 2027. He did caveat that with he is a little optimistic, usually with timelines, which we all know. So take that as 2035. All right. What do you think, Tony?
Let's deconstruct this. I mean, it was a lot of non-details, right? Like classic Elon, where he would just talk about stuff that he's visioning, but no actual details on how it's actually going to work. So yeah, I'm going to take the like not so. I mean, it was fine, but it's like again, it felt like a thrown together event at the last moment. I guess we could talk about it one by one.
When you say details, do you mean that how the
Right.
van actually
How
works?
it's all actually going to work versus it's just Elon talking about his vision of what he wants, right?
Yeah,
And I
yeah.
think that's a big difference. And you kind of saw that with the Cybertruck. I mean, it was basically 4 or 5 years delayed from when they launched it, right? And I remember because I had pre-ordered it right when they had the event, right? But now that's been canceled. Anyways, not the sidetrack. So like Robotaxi. So a couple of things. Like, you know, I was watching some YouTube videos of people who were there and the way they were talking about, like, you guys are talking about like this is like going to be the first company that's rolling out actual autonomous robotaxis, which it's not. If you're in San Francisco or where else is Waymo? I think they're rolling out to, we talked about this, was it LA?
They're in LA, San Francisco,
Yeah.
Arizona,
Yeah.
and soon to be Atlanta.
Yeah. Like Waymo is fully autonomous, working in an actual like very like one of like a very busy like crowded city, San Francisco, right? There are 300 autonomous cars already. You could download the app, hail a Waymo, and it could take you all around the city. Like literally, it is fully autonomous. There's no driver, no nothing. Yes, it has a steering wheel, pedals, but there's nobody driving it. It's fully autonomous. It's there. It's live, right?
You don't have to sit in the driver's seat.
Yeah, you sit in the back seat. And so I found it strange that people were talking about it. I caught this one by Top Gear, and it was like, the dude was like, oh, wow, this is like amazing, whatever. And there was a section where he was talking about Marquez, and Marquez was like, yeah, you could tell Marquez was like being a little bit more realist. He's like, yeah, but I want to learn more about this. And the other dude was like, oh, yeah. It's like, so it was, okay, you could definitely see Top Gear dude, Tesla fan. Marquez is like what he does. He's a little bit more pragmatic about it, right? But anyways, yeah. So to me, it's like, okay, 2027, Waymo is going to be way ahead already. Again, autonomous is here. Tesla is behind. The car itself, what I found interesting is if you think about it, he needs the DOT, the Department of Transportation, to sign off on having no steering wheel or pedals in a car. That's the sticking point, right? And so that's a big change. Similar to how the Cybertruck wasn't going to have side view mirrors, cars need to have that.
Yeah, I think the no steering wheel, no pedals were for show. I feel like when the car actually comes out, it needs to have those things.
Yeah.
I was talking to, and I'll talk about it in a bit about my recent full self-driving experience in my Model Y. But
yeah,
I was driving and talking to my wife about it, and she was like, well, what happens if there's a problem?
Yeah.
I'm like, yeah, you need to have a steering wheel.
Yeah.
Pedals, because if there's any problem at all,
yeah,
you're stuck.
Yeah.
And you're essentially telling people they're not allowed to drive the car at all, which is not good, which is not gonna fly.
And the other thing, and I thought this is actually very interesting that I didn't think about, was it was one of the, I don't remember if it was the a previous co-founder of Waymo, but he'd mentioned that from looking at it, these cars aren't really designed for, they're not, I forget what the term is. They are not like for disabled people or for elderly people.
Accessibility.
If you look how low the seats are and how you get into it, it's like getting into a sports car versus getting into a people mover, right? Because if you look at, and Waymo is kind of showing this also, as in their second gen, it's more of a minivan type car where it's easier for people to get in and out, especially for elderly people. It's very hard to get into a very low positioned seating. Again, it's a great vision, but it's a behind vision. It's a catching up vision, right? Like everything already exists today. and Tesla's catch up. So make no mistake about that. Can I talk about the RoboVan? Are you want to talk about RoboVan?
Yeah, that's about RoboVan. Well, let me maybe make one more comment. I agree. Tesla's playing catch up in, and forewarning for the audience, I am biased towards Tesla because I've been following Tesla since pre-IPO, and I have a Tesla myself. So I'm being conscious of not letting that affect my objectivity. But I think I do want to make these valid points. Like, yeah, I believe Tesla is behind in terms of the autonomous public road driving, and even in some cases like autonomous driving. Like, I'll talk about it in a bit, but a few episodes ago, I said I got 12.5 and it was horrible.
Mhm.
But I recently got a patch and it's much, much better. I'll talk about it in a bit. But however, they are ahead in what is it? Consumer autonomous driving. What I mean by that is like, yeah, Waymo right now is the leader in these cab autonomous driving vehicles, but none of that software is in actual vehicles. Whereas on the flip side, Tesla has all of their cars are autonomous driving enabled, and no other competitor has that in their cars.
A lot of the other car makers also have similar leveled assisted driving.
They keep you in the lane.
No, some of them do turn too,
Who?
like Ford and GM. I mean, they're able to actual, albeit only on certain routes, I think, like Ford Blue, like on the Mustang EVs.
Yeah, I had no idea that they had self-driving turns.
Yeah,
It's cool.
I'm pretty sure. I could be making it out, but I remember like,
Well,
it's not just about keeping you in the lane. There's some form of like they're able to change lanes and stuff too, right?
I've used it in the Volvos before, and this was like back in 2000. All I'm saying is, yeah, like bear case, bull case, all the cases. Like, I agree with you, but also there's some nuances to point out. But talk to us about RoboVan or RoboVan.
Can you imagine being in LA and sitting in the RoboVan with 20 people stuck in traffic? It would be awful.
Elaborate more.
So I mean, it
Because
again,
how's it any different than like a shuttle or a bus?
Conceptually, if you look at the way it's arranged, like everybody's like facing the center. It's got very limited like window. Well, actually, there are no windows. It's a contained thing. It's so low to the ground, it's gonna get destroyed by your typical American city streets. Seattle, in one case, I mean, there's like potholes galore that are like the size of whatever. Anyways, design issues aside, it's like, okay, again, the vision, I get it. Like in a movie, it would look cool. It's very Art Deco inspired, whatever, steampunkish. But it's just
not
not
practical.
Yeah, it's the practicality of it I'm just not sure of.
Speaking of movies, it did give me the whole like event gave me Westworld vibes. Have you ever watched Westworld?
Ah, yes. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
they have in Westworld in like season 3, I think.
Yeah, they had the 4-person like a taxi thing. Yeah.
No,
So
I
that's
agree
what I
with you.
mean. Movie wise, yeah. I mean, again, I get the vision, but it's just like if you have to assume the implementation, you're like, is this really going to work?
It looked cool, and I think like here's how I see those working, but I don't know. They
It's struggling, right?
they look cool, but hold on, let me go down this path. So a couple of things. One, I think, yeah, if it's like Vegas, for example, how Elon's been testing the Boring Company stuff in Vegas. So Vegas is an interesting one because it's super flat, like, and if you want to get from the new strip to the old strip, then I could see those things working.
Yeah.
Great.
Yeah.
The other use case I saw was elevated, and so I saw this video last week around some dude in China who was documenting his commute to work. And he lives on like the 12th floor of this apartment complex. And you had to walk down 2 floors to the 10th floor. That was the ground floor. everyone underneath actually had to walk up.
Okay.
And so he walked out and he was elevated basically. The whole like road was elevated. Then he got into his transit, which was like a subway or bus, and it was even elevated like 20 floors up over the ground on a road.
Yeah.
So where I was going with that is like, I thought of like monorails at first, but then I was like, monorails, no, that's not a road. But
Right.
something like what this guy documented, a very manufactured, flat corridor,
Yeah.
if you will.
Yeah.
But again, that's like 20 years out, right?
Yeah.
Like
Maybe
the US is not going to be
maybe they can use it in what is that? The thing that Saudi Arabia is building or Dubai is building, the Neom, that one long city. Maybe.
Yeah.
That'd actually probably be perfect for it.
Yeah, I agree with you. I don't see it like having mass appeal to, a lot of things, but I do see a use case for it.
Yeah. All right.
Not as cool to me as the CyberCab. I think I liked the design of it. Like it's like it's like I would buy that car. not the CyberCab version. I'd like to buy that car just to drive it around.
But Optimus, what do you think?
Yeah, so saw a bunch of videos around Optimus, and it was clear to me that they had people controlling these robots.
Oh yeah, totally. It's like each one had like a different voice that's like, oh yeah, what do you want? And I'm like, you totally sound like
and
an
they're
engineer.
talking a little too real. So that was disappointing.
Did you see the tweet by Robert Scoble?
No.
He was like, yeah, these aren't really AI. And it's like people like, oh, how do you know? And he was like, I asked. It's like I asked and talked to other engineers, and they would not confirm that it was, or they basically said, like some of it is AI.
Yeah, I think I'd say from what I saw, there was probably a mix of real AI Optimus robots. Like when they were walking out in the Unveil, I'm pretty sure that was AI.
Yeah.
The dancing robots in the little like tube. Did you see that one?
Yeah, but those are probably like recorded. Again, like if you thought about like the Atlas.
Yeah.
Right. Boston.
Yeah.
Same thing.
But the drinks, the snacks, all those, that was a person.
Those are some engineer, like,
yeah,
some engineer with his digital hands going like, okay.
Well, that was a letdown to me. I was like, oh, that sucks. Like, do that type of thing when you're at this event talking about AI and the whole world has their eyes on AI. Right?
Yeah, this is where I'm like, I'm kind of like where Elon's mind is. Like, is he in Trump world where like he thinks nobody is going to catch on that, these are fully AI enabled, right? It's like, I don't know what's going on with him.
It's a good point. I mean, recently I've been thinking Tesla as a company, like, I think we talked about it before maybe. Is Tesla without Elon?
Mm-hmm.
I'd say that yes and no. I think Tesla has built a strong enough and big enough moat that with the roadmap they've got for the next 10, 20 years, if they execute on it, then they're solid. However, if Elon's not there, who is the one that pushes them, against these like short deadlines, bringing the best out of them, making them work like a lot to get these hard to reach goals done. So it's like yes and no. I do think I think it's time for Tesla to move on from Elon, quite honestly, as their like CEO and find someone else that's maybe equally as like ruthless as him, but not as distracted.
Yeah. There was another article and it was talking about like how just this past year, like 8 of Elon's direct reports have quit, which is that's not a good sign. I mean, he has like 40 reports and like 8 of them have quit already this year, citing various reasons. Some of them were kind of like just like disappeared, but they were like able to track down. And it's like, okay, so something is not, all is not well in Tesla, right? And I think this event kind of highlights that in a weird way. Who knows?
I will talk about full self-driving though, and my current experience with it.
Mhm.
So going into the robotaxi event, I think I've made comments like, yeah, it's not ready. There's no way they're going to be able to do robotaxis right now, at least unassisted. And that was like when I got the 12.5 update, which was the update that everyone was excited about. And my initial experience was pretty bad. And I talked about how it was like crossing over the middle lane. Like it was just not good. But I got a patch about a week and a half ago. And that patch made it a lot better, but it's actually really good. And one thing I didn't realize is that you no longer have to keep your hands on the steering wheel because they use eye tracking now to see if you're paying attention to the road. So
Interesting.
yesterday with my family in the car, I did a 15-minute drive end to end with my hands in my lap the whole time. I touched the wheel maybe like once just out of habit and just let it drive itself all the way to our destination. And it did 98% good.
Okay.
There was a 2% there where, what was it? Oh yeah, it was like taking a wrong turn. And so I had to intervene. But this was from our house in Bellevue to Seattle. So I went road into highway, into exit, into Capitol Hill area, hands off. So I thought that was pretty cool. That was like the first time I was able to do that. Because before 12.5, it would actually tell you to put your hands on the steering wheel every like 5 minutes. And so I still don't think it's CyberCab ready. But I do, when Elon says by next year, I actually, with this recent experience, I believe it.
I mean, it's bound to come eventually.
Yeah.
But again, he's been saying that for like 5 years now. Eventually, the market will go down.
So yeah, I think like the recent FSD changes are really good. So we shall see.
Yeah.
Earnings is coming up next for Tesla in a couple of weeks here, so hopefully it'll save the stock a bit, but we'll see.
We'll see. Yeah, I'm trying to decide. Maybe what was my price target again? I think it was like 100 last time.
Yours is 100.
It was 100. Yeah, it was 100.
Mine was 140.
Yeah. I just missed it. It would have been a nice gain.
I think the lowest it can get, if it does go low, is 170, 180. I did buy a bit more stock at 218 there. So, and so
I'm not against trading Tesla though. So
yeah,
I'll say that.
All right. Well, we talked all about that one. So do you want to summarize the Google?
Yeah. So let's see. Google endangered. So the DOJ again has brought kind of like an antitrust, kind of like a monopoly case against Google, and it's what is it? It's centered around their App Store advantages, but I think part of this is also tied into their ads and search business, right? How does it all tie together? So let's see, what do we have there? Breakup. So there's some of the remedies. The way the DOJ is approaching it is they come up with like some different ways in which they basically weaken Google, right? And so like breaking it apart. And so one of those could be like separating out their ads business. One is around how they tie together all their different, I can't even say all they're different. There's actually not that many, right? So it's like Chrome, Play, Android. How do they break that apart? Chrome makes me laugh a little bit because it's kind of like back in Microsoft, how they tied Internet Explorer to their OS. And look what it did. It actually put Microsoft behind. You could look at it this 2 ways. Either the Microsoft, Internet Explorer is separating it out. Either it leveled the playing field and allowed Chrome to take over, or Microsoft is actually right in saying that competitors could always have the opportunity to take them over, which it did. And so now their Internet Explorer business is basically nothing.
Does anyone even use Internet Explorer?
They don't. Even people on Windows don't use it, right? It's like, so did the DOJ actually like do any, like, would natural competitive things have already, handled that versus did the DOJ actually hamper Microsoft from competing effectively? So anyways, so that, I mean, I think we won't know yet. It'll probably go years and years with the amount of money that Google will pour into defending themselves on this. Something I've been thinking about is like, as a shareholder, maybe breaking up Google is not the worst thing as a shareholder, because there's probably a lot of hidden value, especially like if you think about YouTube, right? I don't think Google's being priced like with the value of like if you, right, if you took the pieces of Google independently, like valued them, they're probably worth a lot more than under Google, right? Google, I was looking, it was like 18 times, they've got like 18 times PE going, but like YouTube is probably worth like billions and billions. What's the most comparable? Like Netflix, I guess, is probably the most comparable if you think about it. But anyway, so that's kind of my thought. I mean, it's going to take years to play out. Not sure what remedies they'll take, but as a shareholder specifically, it might not be the worst thing.
I think it would actually optimize Google's business better. And as a shareholder, say if like YouTube was to go spin off into its own business and also be a public company, that's like double dipping, right?
Yeah.
In Google and YouTube.
Yeah.
So no, I don't disagree with you. Yeah, I think Chrome, Android, Play, and it's centered around, the App Store stuff.
Yeah.
Because I think part of it was just like the same thing they're trying to do with Apple, like,
yeah,
because they take so much from all the apps in the App Store. It's problematic. And then the other piece of it was like their search. Like if you do these things and search, monopolizing Google's business because that's where all the revenue comes from. I feel like it's going to go nowhere. Like you said, or it may, or it'll just take years and years, but this is another one of those, I think, buying opportunities where it's like this news pushes the stock down. It's going to go nowhere. And in a year from now, Google will be back at all-time highs.
Yeah.
Just like CrowdStrike, right? Where it's like news pushes it down, but it's just going to glaze over after time and go right back up. Because these are all good businesses. And as you know, in the stock world, like news moves everything.
Yeah, maybe it's a buyer, but yeah, we'll see. Because like Microsoft was never broke up either, right? It's like you didn't have Windows and like their Office suite separated, right? They just had like these limitations placed on them on what they could and could not do. And eventually it just kind of like went away.
Or like Activision Blizzard. Remember that whole Activision Blizzard thing? And it dragged on for like a year and a half. And then Microsoft completes its acquisition.
Yeah. So I think, maybe it's a buying if you believe in Google. And I still think like Meta is where I'm placing my tech bets at the moment. So
no, Meta for sure. Yeah. But Meta's at all-time highs.
Hey, because at all-time highs just only means it keeps going. There's no ceiling because nobody knows how high it can go.
It just depends how long you keep your stop.
That's right. I need to be better about trading around my positions. Sell some more.
Buy low, sell high. You've got the phone.
Yeah. It's like,
I've actually been interested in making some plays around it. I think I told you last time I've been doing more like secured options. So I got into 2 secured options in both ways with Tesla. So I bought a covered call high up there, and then I bought a cash secured put if it gets low. And so it's just a bit safer in some regards than just buying options, which we all get burned by those. So I think Google has been one of those that I've been interested in recently of like maybe buying a secured put so that if it goes lower, then I can get it at that price.
Yeah. So it's not a bad idea in this market, right? It's like, you kind of know what you want to pay for it, get some premium off of it if it doesn't work out.
Yeah.
It's not a bad idea.
All right. 2 good meaty stories for us. We went to the 40-minute mark today.
Wow.
Mostly it was Tesla, but as Tesla is, they're always polarizing.
Yes, it's always interesting to talk about.
All right. Well, we will see you again next week and talk to you later. See you, Tony.
So yeah.